My name is Casey Johnson, and we have two adopted daughters from China. And our oldest, it was a textbook, easy experience, no issues with development and language. Then our youngest, 7 years later, came home at a later age. Our oldest came home at 9 months, and Anna, who is a student here, came home at 13 months. And there was a big difference in ability to acclimate to a new family, and some developmental stages that came along. Anna's language issues were evident at our 2-year-old pediatric checkup. Unfortunately, when we were assessed initially, she was not considered behind enough. And yet we knew there were issues, so we pursued private therapy. Anna's been diagnosed with childhood apraxia of speech. It's a very rare diagnosis, but along with that diagnosis, there are usual other diagnoses. It is a motor speech disorder. Basically, she knows what she wants to say, but she cannot articulate it. The sounds come out in the wrong order or unintelligible. We still struggle with saying green. It comes out, our R's or L's. And when she was younger, it was her family that understood her. Other opportunities to interact in groups, it was really hard because she needed an interpreter to go with her to be able to speak for her. You'll find that if she's asked a very complicated question today, she will look to me or her father or her big sister a lot of times, because to answer a complicated question is stressful. But I would say a child with that diagnosis, it's not usually just that diagnosis. There are other diagnoses that go along with it. And for Anna, it's been ADHD, dyslexia, the auditory processing disorder. That was the first diagnosis.
Yes.
Well, we knew we had a speech delay. Initially, it was just a speech delay, articulation disorder. But the longer we did therapy privately, there's something else. And so I noticed when we were doing phonics together, she was reading my lips. And our speech therapist said, you need to go to the deaf school and have her evaluated. We were living in Mississippi at the time. There were not a lot of options for local assessments and therapy. And so we went and got the diagnosis of auditory processing. So that disorder, I had an adult tell me who had that diagnosis, and she said, it's like I miss every third word. So they are trying to figure out what you said because they're not processing everything you said. And for Anna, that delay really makes her response time obvious. And when you add the apraxia on top of it, it's twice as long. So people will say something to her, and she's just looking at them, and they're thinking, she's not going to respond. Well, what she's doing is, first of all, figuring out what you said because she missed a word there, and then she's figuring out what she wants to say, finding those words, and then we have to figure out how to say them where you understand. So she's got quite a challenge with communication. We didn't know about this center until last fall. We moved back to Birmingham in the fall and immediately found a learning therapist. We were not making progress. We had done all the things that we had been told to do by audiologists, speech therapists. We were just not making progress at all. And the learning therapist did an evaluation and said that she could address some of the things, but the only place she knew of that could address everything was the Morris Center. And she had heard positive results, nothing negative at all. And recommended that we check it out. And so I went online, got the paperwork, we filled it out. We were able to get her scheduled for a meeting with Dr. Denton, and she recommended the evaluation. We went through the week-long evaluation and then had the meeting where they recommended the intensive therapy. The blessing of this center is you're not driving to 6 different facilities for 6 different evaluations. Right. It's all done in one place. The child feels comfortable like a child, not a research subject going into a hospital that's so cold. It was the best possible experience for us. And I know that there are many families that wish this had been here years and years ago. We're so grateful.
So with Anna, we started back in the spring, the full-time intensive program. And I'm going to let Casey address a little bit of kind of the ins and outs and the day-to-day stuff. But where I have noticed in month over month, it was evident at the beginning that Anna's confidence level started building. It was pretty clear right off. She was able to, she felt accepted. She felt that, wow, I'm not the only one going through this. You know, and I think that's one of the big things is seeing that everybody in the center has something they're working on, and it's not just me, because a lot of the one-on-one sessions we would go to, it was just her. So, and that's when Big Sister didn't do it, and she was the one having to do it. So that was one of the first things. And then the confidence started building. Her speech became clearer. We could understand, we could already understand a lot of what she talked on a regular basis, but others couldn't. It became, her speech became clearer, for her confidence to talk to other people really exploded. Her ability to have conversations and joke about things, it was just neat to watch. A few months ago, and I'll share a story that happened. We were out with a group fishing on a private pond as a group, and there were a lady came up with a few people riding horses. They'd been on a trail ride and came up to the trailer, was undoing it, and she looked, and Anna loves horses. And she curious, what kind of horse is that? Wanted to know the horse's name. And so she wanted to go talk to this lady. And I said, do you want me to go with you? No, Daddy, I want to go. She went up and talked to this complete stranger about the horse. She got the horse's name, the breed, in a lot of conversations. And 6 months ago, that would have never happened. You know, it would have been hide behind Mom or Dad and maybe prompt some questions and just those type of things. And then the reading, it is just, that is becoming more and more fluent, she's always loved books, but this is something now that she's able to hold those and really get into them herself versus just the audiobooks or Mom or Dad reading. So those are a lot of the things that we're seeing, just the beneficial side of her being here amidst day in and day out. And a lot of the changes we saw happening at the beginning.
I would say after 2 months.
After a couple months. It was incremental. But then it's just after, like Casey said, after the first few months, couple months, 3 months, it was just on a daily basis type of thing.
Just her vocabulary. We have always had a heavy emphasis on audiobooks, because a child that has a language difficulty, to learn the language when they can't read independently, they need to be exposed to vocabulary. And I read a lot to her, but having the audiobooks that she could listen to was a huge part of her life. And listening to those, they're using language that she can't pronounce all of a sudden she's saying compound words. She's using long adverbs with ly at the end, and it's coming out. And we just see a lot of that now happening, and her confidence level, just about everything. She's always loved art. She's always loved horses. Those things have just become more enjoyable for her, because as she's around other kids, she's able to express herself. Here, one of the things that we saw that was different, you have to understand, a child that can't communicate clearly, that's not understood, is very limited on the social opportunities that are available. And we did all we could to be a part of groups and to get to know families and children and have them over. But having other children who are patient enough to wait on you to answer them. There's a delay for Anna's answer to questions. And kids aren't that patient. And it's not a fault or a criticism of them. They're kids, and they're moving on. Here, all of a sudden, there were peers that were willing to listen because they had something they were working on. So to be accepted, I'm going to cry now, for her to be accepted and to have kids, and I have accosted mothers in the parking lot when I've figured out whose parent they were, and I've thanked them, thank you for Davis and how he accepted Anna and asked her to play Uno the first day. Thank you to other mothers, because they've walked that same path, and their children have ended up being a life preserver for mine, to understand what acceptance is and to be a part of a group. That you can't put a value on that, what that is for her to feel accepted and included and a part of the group. I would say to parents considering this, there's no better investment you'll ever make in your life than your child.
Correct.
There's no 401k, there's no property, there is nothing that's as important as your child and their future.
Because at the end, this completely changed her outlook, her trajectory. The path she was on was not going to be good. And this has changed it where life is okay.
And
and
the possibilities for her.
Huge.
She can see that she can read now. She felt that she couldn't, and now she knows she can.
Yep.
Is it slow? Yeah. Is it for her a harder process than just a child that only has dyslexia? Yeah. But we can do hard things. One of the first things I knew I was at the right place was when I saw the back of Christina's shirt that said, "Failure is not an option." Our family motto has always been, "We don't quit, we persevere." And she will tell you that. She said it in her little preschool, "We don't quit, we persevere." We just never allow that you can quit or stop. There's a way around it. We will keep pushing through. And when I knew that was their feeling here, I just felt like we're in the right place.
Yep.
And then I saw we were in the right place, because children here are a gift from God. Most of the people, or a lot of the staff here, have children who have a challenge, a learning difference, and they understand it. So they're approaching it not only as a professional, but there's a mom or a dad behind that, and they understand. The other thing is, it's not one size fits all. Correct. Here. They have a program, it's an excellent program that works for a particular diagnosis, but they're not afraid to say, "That's not working. We're going to figure out what will work." They don't just say, "Okay, it didn't work." They go back to the drawing board, and Sweet Anna has had them back to the drawing board many times in her progress here because of the challenge of the language. They have taken the program and reconfigured it for her. They have expanded it to slow it down, to make review a part of it. They have done so much more than what they normally do. They've gone above and beyond the call for our child, and they do that for every child because, let's face it, every child's different.
And they took the adage of the old Chinese proverb, the slower I go, the faster I get there. They're willing to modify the pieces where I'm slowing down here, but it pushes us up this way. You know, there's a lot of levers, and not everybody, we all don't learn the same way. We all learn very differently, and they take a look at the individual child and what is best for them, and they have that ultimate goal in the end. And it's really about how we do that, because sometimes it's slowing things down, and they're doing it in a way the child doesn't know they've been pulled back. They are moving forward every time. It is so much encouragement, so much things that are happening that it benefits the child in the long run. It is just an amazing place.
We can't say enough good things.